When you think of Oxford, there are names associated with a great university, from prime ministers to presidents. Think of Harold Wilson, think of Margaret Thatcher, David Cameron. Some historical figures may be familiar to you, Oscar Wilde, Percy Shelley. But the question is, what about the black scholars who came from the Caribbean, the African diaspora, and successfully studied at the university? Those were the stories I wanted to unearth and find out more and make those names accessible to the general and wider public. So let me introduce you to the first black scholar, Mr. Christian Frederick Cole, who came from Sierra Leone. He studied one of the hardest degrees, a classical degree. He became the first black man at the Inner Temple and went on to become the first black barrister in England to practice at the Old Bailey, the Central Criminal Court. Yet, there was no recognition, no acknowledgement. It's almost like he'd been airbrushed out of history. I wanted to change that. I wanted to honor Cole in terms of his achievement as a black scholar, for a person who opened up the doors for so many other people to come after him. Given that Cole was the first black student, I found it interesting there were no actual photographs of him. The only image that exists are a series of 3 derogatory caricatures. At the time, they were produced by undergraduate students and sold on a corner shop in Broad Street by the publisher Shrimpton and Son. So we can see here this image. Cole has his mortarboard on. He is wearing a clown-type pantaloon. He has his gown and he's strumming a banjo. He's depicted as a minstrel of the day, and it is labelled a Negro minstrel. The other caricature portrayed here is entitled King Cole's Return Home, Home Sweet Home. And here we see Cole in the middle of the Assumption, his village in Sierra Leone, with what can only be described as a Eurocentric perception of Africans at the time in loincloths and graft skirts. But Cole is holding aloft a very British symbol of the folded umbrella. He has his mortarboard and his gown on. One of the pieces of work I am really proud of is that a plaque we managed to have at University College to acknowledge the presence of him as the first black scholar. Christian Frederick Cole is a starting point, but there's still further work to do. And here at the Bodleian Libraries, one of the great asset and benefit to me as a researcher was being able to come in here and see archives, manuscripts, information that's not usually accessible. And with their support and expertise, I was able to unearth so many uncovered histories that will benefit the wider community and also the university community. Going forward, one of my mantras is, it should be expected and reflected. What do I mean by that? I mean, when you walk into these spaces, you should be expected. It should not be an anomaly, and it should be reflected. Reflected in the staff, reflected in the program, reflected in the images. So some work has started, but there's still a long way to go.